Hey, tonight we're going to travel back in time to ancient Sparta, where we'll experience life as one of history's most fearsome warriors. You're going to feel what it was like to be raised from birth for battle, to endure training so tough it would break most modern soldiers, and to live in a society completely different from our own. By the end, you'll understand why being a Spartan was both an incredible honor and a burden few could bear. Hey, if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I'm curious where you're listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up in ancient Sparta around 500 BCE. The first thing you notice is the cool morning air against your skin. The rough wool of your single red cloak scratches lightly against your shoulder as you sit up on your sleeping mat. Your feet touch the cold, packed earth floor and you wince a little. The bottoms of your feet are calloused but still sensitive in the morning chill. You're 7 years old, and today is your last day at home. The small clay oil lamp casts flickering shadows across the simple stone walls of your family's modest home. There's nothing fancy here. Spartans don't believe in luxury or decorations. The furniture is sparse, just a few wooden stools, a table, and sleeping mats. In the corner, a small shrine to the household gods sits with a few offerings of grain and olive oil. Your mother enters the room, her footsteps almost silent on the packed earth floor. Unlike women in other Greek cities, she moves with the confident stride of someone who knows her own strength. Her hair is pulled back simply, and she wears no jewelry or makeup. Such things are forbidden to Spartan women, who pride themselves on natural beauty and strength rather than adornment. "Come," she says, her voice steady. "Eat. Today you become a true Spartan." You follow her to the main room where a simple breakfast waits. A piece of barley bread dipped in wine, a few olives, and a small portion of cheese. You eat slowly, savouring each bite. You know that from tomorrow on, food will never be plentiful. Hunger, you've been told, builds character. Your father sits across from you. He's a full Spartiate, a citizen soldier who has served in the army since he was 20. Now in his 30s, his body is a map of scars and hardened muscle. His face is weathered from years spent training under the harsh Mediterranean sun. He says little, but his dark eyes watch you carefully. "Are you afraid?" he finally asks. You want to say no, but Spartans value honesty as much as courage. "Yes," you answer, feeling the word catch in your throat. He nods, not disappointed, but accepting. "Good. Fear keeps you alert, but remember, a Spartan controls his fear. He does not let fear control him." Your father reaches across the table and places his calloused hand on yours. The touch is brief but meaningful. Perhaps the last gentle touch you'll receive for many years. "From today, the state becomes your parent," he says. "The agoge becomes your home. Your brothers will be the boys who train beside you. Forget comfort, forget ease. These things make men weak, and Sparta has no use for weakness." Outside, the morning light grows stronger. Through the doorway you can see the rugged outline of Mount Taygetus looming over the city. Its peaks are purple against the brightening sky. Somewhere up there, you know, are the bodies of babies deemed too weak to raise, though you've never seen such a thing yourself. You take a deep breath, trying to calm the fluttering in your stomach. The rough fabric of your chiton, a simple tunic, brushes against your legs as you stand. It's the last proper clothing you'll own for years. From tomorrow, you'll receive only one cloak per year, regardless of weather. Your mother approaches, a small bundle in her hands. Inside is a strigil for scraping oil and dirt from your body after exercise, a small wooden comb, and a modest bronze amulet for protection. "These are for you," she says, her voice steady though her eyes betray her emotion, but use them only when permitted. In the Agoji, even personal belongings are not truly your own. She kneels before you, bringing her face level with yours. Her hands grip your shoulders firmly. "Listen to me," she says, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "What you will endure in the coming years will seem cruel. It is cruel, but it has purpose. Every Spartan man before you has endured it. Those who survived became the finest warriors Greece has ever known." You can feel the strength in her grip. Spartan women are nearly as tough as the men. They train their bodies through running, wrestling, and javelin throwing. They're taught to be strong so they can bear strong children. Your own mother competed in foot races when she was younger, running with other women, their bodies glistening with oil, their tunics hitched up to free their legs. "Remember," she continues, "when they strike you, it is not merely punishment but a test. When they starve you, it teaches resourcefulness. When they exhaust you, it builds endurance. Nothing is without purpose." She pulls you close in a brief, fierce embrace. Over her shoulder you see your father turn away, his jaw tight. Shows of affection are discouraged in Spartan society. Emotional attachments are seen as potential weaknesses. "Make me proud," she whispers. "Return with your shield or on it." The familiar saying sends a chill through you. Every Spartan knows what it means. Come home victorious or dead, but never dishonored. There's a sharp knock at the door. Outside stands a stern-faced man in a simple red cloak. Behind him are several other boys your age, all looking as anxious as you feel. Some have tear-stained faces, though they're trying hard to hide it. Others stare straight ahead with forced stoicism. "It's time," the man says without preamble. Your father steps forward. "He is yours now," he says, his voice revealing no emotion. "Make him worthy of Sparta." With that, you step outside into the early morning light. No tearful goodbyes, no last embraces. Spartans believe in clean breaks. From this moment, the state is your parent, your provider, your purpose. The Paidonomos, the boy herder responsible for overseeing your training, motions for you to join the line of boys. Like you, they wear simple tunics and carry almost nothing. Most look straight ahead, their small faces set in determination. "Follow," the Paidonomos commands, and begins walking toward the center of the city. As you walk, the muscles in your legs stretch pleasantly. The morning air fills your lungs, cool and sweet with the scent of olive groves. Around you, Sparta is coming to life. The city is nothing like Athens, with its marble temples and bustling marketplace. Sparta is austere, functional, unadorned. The buildings are simple, the streets narrow but orderly. There are few decorations or luxuries to be seen. Even the temples are modest compared to those in other Greek cities. Women move purposefully through the streets, some carrying water, others heading to exercise grounds. They walk with straight backs and confident strides, meeting the eyes of men without lowering their gaze. Unlike women in Athens, Spartan women can own property, speak their minds, and move freely. They're respected, even feared by some. In the distance, you can hear the rhythmic chanting of older boys training. The sound grows louder as you approach a large open area near the center of the city. Here, dozens of boys aged 8 to 12 are already training, their young bodies glistening with sweat despite the early hour. They run, wrestle, and practice combat moves under the watchful eyes of older teens and adult instructors. One group performs a complicated dance-like drill with wooden swords, their movements precise and synchronized. Another group runs barefoot over rough ground, their faces showing no pain as stones and thorns cut their feet. In one corner, two boys wrestle fiercely while others cheer them on. When one pins the other, there's no celebration, just a nod from the instructor before they begin again. The Paidonomos leads your group to a separate area where several older boys wait. These will be your Irenes, the supervisors assigned to your group. They're between 15 and 20 years old, already hardened by years in the agoge. These are the new ones, the Paidonomos tells them. They are yours to shape. The Irenes look you over with critical eyes. One steps forward, a tall youth with a scar running from his eyebrow to his jaw. "Strip," he commands. Hesitantly, your group removes your tunics until you stand naked in the morning air. Your skin prickles with goosebumps, but you fight the urge to cover yourself or shiver. The scarred Irene walks slowly around the group, examining each boy carefully. He pokes and prods at muscles, checks teeth, and looks for any signs of weakness or deformity. Though you were already inspected as an infant, with weak babies abandoned on the mountainside, this new examination feels more immediate, more threatening. "Acceptable," he finally says, though his tone suggests barely so. "You'll be divided into agelai, herds. Your herd becomes your family. You eat together, train together, sleep together. You succeed together or suffer together." He gestures to a pile of red woolen cloaks. "Take one. This is all you receive for the year. Lose it, tear it, outgrow it. That's your problem." You step forward with the others and take a cloak. The wool is rough and unfinished, nothing like the softer fabrics you're used to at home. It's also surprisingly small, barely large enough to wrap around your shoulders. "No shoes," the Irene adds, noticing some boys looking around for footwear. "Spartans walk barefoot in all seasons. Your feet will toughen or you will suffer." The ground beneath your feet is already uncomfortable, packed earth mixed with small stones and prickly weeds. You can't imagine walking through winter snow without shoes, but that's exactly what you'll be expected to do. "Form lines," commands another Irene. "We begin now." Your first day in the agoge starts with running, endless running. You and the other boys in your agelai are made to run circuits around the training grounds, then through the city streets, then up the rugged foothills of Mount Taygetus. The pace is merciless. Boys who slow are struck with switches made of tough, flexible branches that leave angry welts on bare legs and backs. Your lungs burn and your bare feet ache as they strike the hard ground. Small stones cut into your soles, but you dare not slow down. Beside you, a boy trips and falls. An Irene immediately appears over him, switch raised. "Up," he says coldly. "Pain is temporary, weakness is permanent." The boy staggers to his feet, blood streaming from his scraped knees and palms, and continues running. No one offers help, no one shows sympathy. This is the Spartan way. After running comes wrestling. With no instruction or preparation, you're paired with another boy from your agelai and told simply, "Begin." You circle each other uncertainly at first, but the sting of the switch on your back quickly motivates you. You grapple awkwardly, neither of you knowing proper technique yet. It's pure instinct and determination. When you finally manage to pin the other boy, there's no praise, just a curt nod before you're paired with someone else. The sun climbs higher, beating down on your bare head and shoulders. Sweat stings your eyes and the cuts on your feet. Your stomach growls with hunger. Breakfast seems like days ago, but there's no mention of food. By midday, your entire body aches. Your feet are bloody, your muscles trembling with exhaustion, but there's no rest, no water, no food, just more training. An older man approaches, his beard streaked with grey, but his body still powerfully built. Unlike the Irenes, he wears a simple chiton along with his red cloak, marking him as a full Spartiate. The boys around you straighten immediately, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "I am Aristodemus," he announces. "I will oversee your training in the skills of combat." He moves among you, adjusting postures, examining your builds with a critical eye. When he reaches you, his weathered hand tilts your chin up, forcing you to meet his gaze. "This one has good eyes," he comments to no one in particular. "Alert, observant, but too soft. We'll fix that." He steps back and addresses the group. Today, you begin to learn the most basic of all survival skills, how to endure. The Persian soldiers you will one day face carry rich foods and soft bedding with them on campaign. They sleep in tents and wear armor made by others. When winter comes, they retreat to comfortable quarters. He spits on the ground contemptuously. And that is why they will break when they meet Spartans on the battlefield, because you, if you survive your training, will fear neither pain nor hunger nor death itself. The afternoon brings new torments. You learn to stand perfectly still under the burning sun, to hold painful positions without flinching, to bear blows without crying out. Boys who show weakness are not just punished but humiliated before the group. As the sun finally begins to set, your empty stomach twists with hunger. Surely now you'll be fed. Instead, Aristodemus makes an announcement that sends a chill through the exhausted group. Tonight, you will eat nothing that is given to you, he says. But what you can take for yourselves, you may keep. He gestures to a nearby building where you can see food being prepared by helots, the slave class that serves Spartan citizens. If you are caught stealing, you will be beaten, he continues. Not for stealing, theft shows initiative, but for being caught. A Spartan warrior must know how to forage and take what he needs without detection. As darkness falls, you and the other boys exchange uncertain glances. The message is clear. Steal or go hungry, but don't get caught. Later that night, with your stomach growling painfully, you lie awake on the hard ground of the barracks. Around you, other boys shift uncomfortably on their sleeping mats, which are really just piles of reeds gathered from the Eurotas River. The mats are infested with biting insects that add to your misery. Some boys manage to steal food, a handful of olives, a piece of barley cake, a strip of dried meat. Others, like you, were too hesitant or unskilled and now pay the price with hunger. One boy was caught and received 20 lashes with the switch. His back is striped with welts, but he doesn't cry. Tears are seen as weakness in Sparta. The barracks is a long, low building with sleeping areas divided by age group. Your age-lie shares a section, sleeping side by side on the reed mats with only your thin red cloaks for warmth. The night air grows increasingly cold, seeping through cracks in the stone walls. Beside you, a boy from your age-lie shivers violently. Without thinking, you shift closer, sharing what little warmth your body generates. He gives you a grateful look, then reaches into his cloak and pulls out half an olive. He offers it to you without a word. You take it, the small gesture of kindness nearly bringing tears to your eyes. You swallow them back. Spartans don't cry. Instead, you nod in silent thanks and eat the olive slowly, savouring the burst of salty flavour. An older boy, one of the Irenes, passes through the barracks, checking that everyone is in place. He notices the interaction but says nothing. Perhaps he understands that this bond forming between you is part of the process. Spartan warriors must learn to rely on each other, to form unbreakable bonds of brotherhood that will serve them on the battlefield. Sleep, the Irene commands. Tomorrow will be harder. As you close your eyes, your body aching on the uncomfortable mat, you wonder how anything could be harder than what you've already endured. You'll soon find out. Sleep comes fitfully, interrupted by hunger pangs and the cold. When you do manage to drift off, your dreams are vivid with images of home, of your mother's face, of food and comfort. You wake several times, momentarily confused about where you are until reality crashes back. In what seems like just moments after you've finally fallen into deeper sleep, a loud clatter of wooden sticks against metal pots jars you awake. Outside, the sky is still dark, pre-dawn, with just the faintest lightening on the eastern horizon. "Up!" shouts an Irene. "Form lines outside, now!" You scramble to your feet, wrapping your cloak around you against the pre-dawn chill. Your muscles scream in protest, stiff and sore from yesterday's exertions. Your stomach feels hollow, painfully empty. Outside, the cold air hits you like a slap. Your breath forms clouds in front of your face. Dew wets your already tender feet. The other boys form lines, shivering but silent. No one complains. No one asks for food or warmth or mercy. You're already learning the first lesson of the agoge. Endure. The Irenes lead you to a small, swift-flowing stream at the edge of the training grounds. The water is shockingly cold, flowing down from the snow-capped peaks of Mount Taygetus. "In," commands the scarred Irene from yesterday. "Wash." Without hesitation brings punishment. You step into the frigid water. The cold steals your breath, makes your skin tighten painfully. Your feet, cut and sore from yesterday, sting fiercely in the icy stream. Around you, other boys gasp and clench their teeth, but make no protest. The washing is quick but thorough. Spartan hygiene is simple but strict. Despite their hardened lifestyle, or perhaps because of it, Spartans are fastidious about cleanliness. Disease can weaken an army faster than any enemy. After washing, there's no cloth to dry yourself. The morning air against your wet skin is painful, but you stand straight, refusing to show discomfort. This too is part of your training, learning to control your body's reactions, to master physical discomfort. As the first rays of sunlight pierce the eastern sky, painting the stone buildings of Sparta in soft gold, your second day in the agoge begins. It will indeed be harder than the first, and so will the day after that, and the one after that, for years to come. This is the way of the Spartan. This is how warriors are made. This is what it means to be bred for battle. You feel the weight of it settling on your 7-year-old shoulders as you follow the Irenes to begin the day's training. Your old life is already fading like a dream upon waking. Ahead lies pain, hardship, brotherhood, and, if you're strong enough, skilled enough, Spartan enough, glory. The morning sun warms your face as you take a deep breath of the cool air. Despite everything, the hunger, the cold, the pain, something stirs inside you. Pride, perhaps. Determination, the first flickering of the Spartan spirit taking root. For better or worse, this is your life now. You are being forged, like a blade in fire, into something stronger, sharper, more deadly than ordinary men. You are becoming a Spartan. The sun climbs higher, bringing warmth to your chilled skin. Your empty stomach has stopped growling and settled into a hollow ache. Your feet are numb on the cold ground, but you stand straight, your gaze steady. "Spartans," calls Aristodemus, "today you learn to fight, and despite everything you feel yourself step forward, ready to begin." The training field stretches before you, hard-packed dirt marked with the footprints of countless boys who came before. The morning light catches the dust kicked up by dozens of feet, turning it golden in the air. Your bare toes curl against the cool earth as you wait for instruction. Aristodemus walks slowly before your line, his weathered face revealing nothing. In his hands he holds wooden training swords, not the leaf-shaped xiphos that Spartan warriors carry into battle, but crude wooden replicas, heavy and unbalanced. The sword, he says, his voice carrying across the field, is not a Spartan's primary weapon. That honor belongs to the spear and shield, but when your spear breaks and battle brings you face to face with your enemy, the sword becomes your lifeline. He begins distributing the wooden swords. When he reaches you, his calloused hand brushes yours as he passes the weapon. It's heavier than it looks, the wood rough against your palm. "Today, you learn the most basic cuts and blocks," he continues. "Not fancy swordplay like Athenian actors perform on stage, but the brutal, efficient strikes that will open an enemy's guard and end his life." He demonstrates, his movements sharp and precise despite his age. A diagonal cut across an imaginary chest, a thrust to the throat, a savage downward strike that would cleave through a shoulder. "Pair up," he commands. "Practice these movements until your arms feel like they'll fall off. Then practice more." You turn to the boy beside you, the same one who shared his olive with you last night. His name is Theron, you learned during the morning washing. He's slightly taller than you, with dark curls and serious eyes. He nods once and you both take up position. The wooden sword feels awkward in your hand as you mimic Aristodemus's movements. The first few attempts are clumsy, drawing a sharp correction from a passing Irene who strikes your back with his switch. Elbow higher, he snaps, wrist straight again. You adjust and try once more. Your arms already ache from yesterday's exertions, and the heavy wooden sword soon makes them burn with fatigue. Sweat beads on your forehead, running into your eyes. You blink it away and continue. Theron struggles too, his face tight with concentration. When an Irene isn't watching, he whispers, "Like this," and shows you a slight adjustment to your grip. It helps. The sword feels more natural now, the movement's a little smoother. This small act of assistance creates a flicker of warmth in your chest. In the Agoj, you compete against each other constantly, but you also learn to rely on one another. This paradox is at the heart of what makes Spartan warriors so effective in battle. Fierce individual fighters who function as a perfect unit. The morning passes in a blur of repeated movements, corrections, and growing fatigue. Your arms tremble with exhaustion, but you dare not stop. Around you, other boys grimace with effort, their small bodies pushed beyond normal endurance. As the sun climbs toward its zenith, bringing real heat to the day, Aristodemus finally calls a halt. "Enough," he says. "Set aside your swords." You drop your wooden weapon gratefully, flexing your cramped fingers. Your palm is red and blistered from the rough wood. Those blisters will soon become calluses, just as the cuts on your feet will toughen into protective skin. Your body is being transformed, hardened like metal in a forge. Now, Aristodemus continues, you run. A collective groan rises from the group, quickly silenced by the sharp looks of the Irenes. Your legs already feel like water from yesterday, but you know better than to protest. Up the hill, Aristodemus points to a steep slope at the edge of the training ground. Touch the stone at the top. Return. Repeat until I say stop. The hill is intimidating, its surface loose dirt and scree that shifts under your feet as you begin to climb. The first ascent is difficult but manageable. Your lungs burn by the time you reach the top, touching the sun-warmed stone marker before turning to descend. The second climb is harder. The third feels nearly impossible. By the fourth, your legs shake uncontrollably with each step. Some boys stumble and fall, earning swift punishment from the ever-present Irenes. Others simply stop, unable to continue despite the switches cutting their backs. You fix your eyes on the stone at the top and push forward, one painful step after another. Beside you, Theron struggles as well, his breath coming in ragged gasps. When he stumbles, you instinctively reach out to steady him. He flashes you a grateful look. Together, he pants, barely audible. You nod, understanding. Together, you can endure this. Without conscious decision, you match your pace to his. When his energy flags, you slow slightly to let him recover. When yours does, he does the same. This unconscious cooperation makes the impossible task marginally more bearable. Finally, after what seems like hours but is probably less than one, Aristodemus calls a halt. You collapse at the bottom of the hill, legs trembling, lungs heaving. Your throat feels raw from breathing the dusty air. "Water," Aristodemus announces, gesturing to several large clay amphorae that helots have brought to the edge of the field. "Drink, then we continue." The water is lukewarm and tastes of the clay vessel, but it's the sweetest thing you've ever experienced. You drink deeply, feeling it cool your parched throat. You pour a little over your head, the moisture a blessed relief on your hot skin. As you drink, you notice the helots for the first time. These enslaved people, mostly descendants of those conquered by Sparta generations ago, perform all the labour that keeps the city functioning while citizens train for war. They tend fields, prepare food, make clothing and serve the Spartiates in all ways. The helots move with downcast eyes, their clothing simple and drab. They speak only when spoken to, their movements efficient but careful, as if trying not to draw attention. You've heard whispers that once a year, Spartan youths are sent to hunt and kill helots who show signs of rebellion, Prosgang and named Psalm, named Shakri, a practice called the Cryptaya. The thought makes your stomach tighten with unease. You have little time to dwell on this, however. After the brief water break, training resumes with new intensity. The afternoon brings lessons in wrestling, a fundamental skill for Spartan warriors. Unlike the sword practice, which was largely instruction, wrestling is taught through direct experience, painful experience. Spartans fight best when pressed body against body, explains a new instructor, a muscular man in his prime who introduces himself as Cleomenes. When the phalanx meets the enemy, it becomes a contest of strength, endurance, and will. Wrestling teaches all three. The basics are demonstrated once, then you're paired off to practice. Your opponent is not Theron this time, but a stocky boy named Doros who outweighs you considerably. His expression is grim as you face each other in the wrestling circle, a ring of packed earth bordered by stones. "Begin," Cleomenes commands. Doros charges immediately, catching you around the waist and driving you backward. The impact knocks the wind from your lungs and you stumble, nearly falling. Pure instinct makes you twist to the side, breaking his grip partially. You push back, straining against his greater weight. For several minutes you grapple awkwardly, neither gaining a clear advantage. Sweat makes your skin slippery, difficult to hold. Dust clings to the moisture, creating a gritty paste that scratches as you move. Your breathing grows laboured, muscles burning with effort. Then Doros makes a mistake. He overextends, trying to hook your leg. You feel the shift in his balance and react instinctively, pushing hard against his shoulder while pulling his extended leg. He topples, and you follow him down, scrambling to pin his shoulders as you've seen the older boys do. For a moment, triumph flares in your chest. Then Doros bucks violently, throwing you off. Before you can recover, he's on you, his weight pressing you into the hard ground. Dust fills your mouth and nose. You struggle, but he has you firmly pinned. "Enough," calls Cleomenes after a few seconds. "Victory to Doros." You rise, spitting dust, your pride stinging more than your scraped elbows. Doros offers no gloating smile, no taunt. He simply nods once, acknowledging the match, then moves away. In Sparta, victory is expected, not celebrated. Again, Cleomenes orders, assigning you a new opponent. The wrestling continues until every muscle in your body screams with fatigue. You win some matches, lose others, learning with each bout. By the end, your skin is a map of scrapes, bruises, and dust-caked sweat. Your red cloak, which you removed for wrestling, now serves to wipe away the worst of the grime. As the afternoon wanes, your empty stomach reminds you that you've had nothing to eat since yesterday's meagre breakfast at home. The hunger is a constant companion now, a hollow ache that never quite leaves. You've learned that this too is intentional. Hungry boys become resourceful, desperate to fill their bellies by any means necessary. Finally, as the sun begins its descent toward the western hills, Aristodemus dismisses the group, but there's no mention of food, no direction to a mess hall or kitchen. Rest is all he says. Tomorrow we begin earlier. The boys disperse, moving with the slow, pained gait of the truly exhausted. You find Theron and walk together toward the barracks. "We need to find food," he says quietly, eyes scanning the area. "I didn't manage to steal anything last night." You nod, too tired to speak. Together, you begin to explore the Agogi grounds, looking for opportunities. Other boys are doing the same, some in pairs like you, others alone. The competition for food is yet another test, another way to identify the most resourceful, the most cunning. Near the kitchens, you notice helots carrying baskets of vegetables and bread to the mess hall where the older boys eat. The helots are closely watched by Irenes, making direct theft nearly impossible. But as you observe, you notice something. Scraps and trimmings from the vegetables are being discarded in bins at the back of the kitchen. You nudge Theron and nod toward the bins. His eyes follow yours, understanding immediately. Together, you circle around, approaching from the side where fewer people are watching. The bins are unguarded. Why would anyone protect garbage? Moving as casually as possible, you reach the bins and quickly sift through the contents. There are onion peels, wilted outer leaves of cabbages, carrot tops, and treasure, several chunks of bread that were apparently burned on one side and discarded. You fill your hands with these cast-offs, motioning for Theron to do the same. Then, food clutched to your chest, you hurry away before anyone notices. Behind the barracks, hidden from sight, you divide your findings. It's not much. Some vegetable scraps and hard bread.
Smart, Theron says, biting into a piece of bread. No one said we couldn't take what was thrown away.
You nod, savouring each small bite, making the meagre meal last. The bread is indeed burned on one side and stale, but it fills the hollow in your stomach a little. The vegetable scraps are bitter but edible. As you eat, other boys filter back to the barracks, some with small amounts of food they've managed to steal or scavenge, others empty-handed. There's no sharing beyond your immediate partner or age-allay. Resources are too scarce, survival too paramount. Night falls quickly, bringing a chill to the air. Inside the barracks, you settle onto your reed mat, wrapping your thin cloak around you. The day's exertions have left you bone-tired, yet your mind races with all you've experienced. Already, home seems distant, a memory from another life. Beside you, Theron curls on his mat, his breathing already deepening towards sleep. Around you, other boys shift and murmur, some nursing new bruises or cuts, others simply exhausted beyond words. The hard ground presses against your hip bones and shoulders, the reed mat offering minimal cushioning. An Irene passes through, checking that everyone is in place. His switch taps lightly against his leg, a reminder of the punishment awaiting any who disobey. "Sleep," he commands. Dawn comes early. You close your eyes, willing your aching body to relax. Sleep, when it comes, is deep and dreamless, the sleep of utter exhaustion. Morning arrives as it did before, with the clattering of sticks against metal and the sharp commands of the Irenes. Your body protests as you rise, muscles stiff and sore from yesterday's training. The cold washing in the stream is almost welcome, shocking your system awake. Days begin to blend together, each filled with physical training, hunger, and the constant pressure to excel or at least survive. Sword practice, wrestling, running, endless running. Your body changes rapidly, baby fat melting away, replaced by lean muscle. Your feet, once soft, develop thick calluses. Your hands grow hard with sword calluses. Even your mind transforms, learning to push past pain, to function despite hunger and fatigue. One morning, perhaps a month into your training, Aristodemus introduces something new. Today, he announces, you learn to move as one. The boys exchange confused glances. Move as one. Spartan strength lies not in individual prowess, Aristodemus explains, but in unity. On the battlefield, a Spartan phalanx moves like a single organism, each man protecting not just himself, but the man to his left. This is what makes us invincible. He directs you to form lines, each boy standing shoulder to shoulder with those beside him. You find yourself between Theron and a quiet boy named Lysander. Wooden training shields are distributed, not the full-sized aspis that hoplites carry in battle, but smaller versions appropriate for your size. The shield, Aristodemus says, demonstrating its use, protects not just you, but your comrade to the left. Hold it thus, braced against your left shoulder, covering part of your body and part of his. You adjust your shield as instructed, feeling its weight pull at your arm. To your right, Theron positions his shield to partially cover you. To your left, your shield helps protect Lysander. This interconnection creates a wall of wood and bodies. Now, move forward, together, same pace, same stride, shields touching at all times. The first attempt is a disaster. Boys move at different speeds, shields separate, the line wavers and breaks. Aristodemus watches impassively, then orders you to try again and again and again. By midday, your shield arm trembles with fatigue, your shoulder bruised from the wooden rim, but slowly, gradually, your line begins to move with more coordination. You learn to feel the pressure of the shields on either side, to match your steps to those beside you, to become part of something larger than yourself. This, Aristodemus says with the first hint of approval you've heard from him, is how Spartans defeat armies twice their size, not as individuals, but as a single force unified in purpose and movement. The lesson continues into the afternoon, now with wooden spears added to the formation. You learn to hold the spear overarm, thrusting it forward while maintaining your position in the line. The coordination required is immense, the concentration total. By day's end, your body aches in new places, but there's a sense of accomplishment unlike anything you've felt before. Moving as part of the line, feeling the strength of the boys on either side supporting you as you support them, it awakens something primal and powerful. This is brotherhood forged in shared struggle. That night, as you lie on your mat, too exhausted to even feel the hunger that's become your constant companion, you realise that you're changing in ways that go beyond the physical. The boy who left his parents' home just weeks ago is fading, replaced by something harder, more focused, more Spartan. The training intensifies as weeks turn to months. You learn to hunt in the forests around Sparta, tracking animals through rough terrain. You're taught to move silently, to set snares, to kill quickly and efficiently. These skills serve multiple purposes, providing food if you're successful, teaching patience and strategy, preparing you for the cryptire that may come in later years. Food remains scarce, deliberately so. You and Theron perfect your scavenging, developing a silent language of gestures and nods to coordinate your efforts. Sometimes you manage to steal or find enough to dull the edge of hunger. Other times you go to sleep with your stomach knotting painfully. You learn that the body can endure much more than the mind initially believes possible. Punishments remain swift and harsh for any infraction, but you notice something interesting. They're meted out not just for failure, but for failure to help your fellow trainees. When a boy in your age line named Adrastos falls during a run, unable to continue, you all receive punishment for not carrying him. The message is clear. In Sparta, the group succeeds or fails together. The seasons change, bringing new challenges. Summer's heat makes training a test of endurance against dehydration and sunburn. Your skin darkens to a deep bronze, your hair lightened by constant exposure. Then autumn brings rain, turning the training grounds to mud that sucks at your bare feet and makes wrestling matches even more grueling. Winter is the hardest. Your single cloak provides little protection against the biting cold. Snow falls on the mountains and icy winds sweep down into the valley where Sparta lies. Training continues regardless of weather, running through snow, washing in water so cold it burns, sleeping in unheated barracks where your breath forms clouds above your mat. During one particularly brutal winter training session, as sleet falls from a grey sky, stinging your exposed skin, you notice an older man observing from the edge of the field. Unlike the instructors, he wears the full red cloak of a Spartan warrior, with a bronze helmet tucked under one arm. His beard is full but neatly trimmed, his posture perfect despite his obvious age. "Who is that?" you whisper to Theron during a brief pause in the drills. Theron glances over, then quickly averts his eyes. "King Leonidas," he whispers back, awe evident in his voice. Your heart jumps. The king himself watching your training. Leonidas is a direct descendant of Heracles, according to Spartan belief, a living demigod among men. His reputation as a warrior is unmatched, and now his critical gaze sweeps over you and your fellow trainees, assessing, evaluating. The Irenes notice the king's presence and drive you harder, shouting corrections and delivering punishments with increased fervour. No one wants the king to see weakness or imperfection in their charges. You push yourself beyond what you thought possible, ignoring the burn in your muscles, the sting of sleet on your face. When you stumble during a complicated shield drill, you recover instantly, refusing to show fatigue. Around you, other boys do the same, each desperate to appear worthy in the king's eyes. After what seems like hours, King Leonidas departs, saying nothing to your group but exchanging a few quiet words with Aristodemus. You watch him go, wondering what he saw, what he thought of the boys who will one day serve in his army. That night in the barracks, speculation runs wild. Did the king approve? Did he single out any boy for particular praise or criticism? No one knows, but the mere fact of his observation drives home the reality of your training. You are being shaped for war, prepared to stand in the phalanx beside men like Leonidas, to fight and possibly die for Sparta. As you drift towards sleep, your body aching from the day's exertions, you realize that the thought no longer frightens you as it once would have. Somehow, in these months of training, something fundamental has shifted inside you. The pain, the hunger, the constant pressure. They're forging you into something different, something distinctly Spartan. Outside, the winter wind howls around the barracks, finding every crack and crevice. Inside, despite the cold, despite the hard mat beneath you and the hunger in your belly, you feel a strange sense of belonging. This is where you are meant to be. This is who you are becoming. The training continues, relentless as the seasons. Spring returns, bringing welcome warmth and new challenges. You've survived your first year in the Agoge, but many more lie ahead. The path to becoming a true Spartan warrior is long and brutal, claiming many who lack the strength, resilience, or sheer will to continue. But as you stand on the training field, your once soft body now hardened with muscle, your mind sharpened by constant challenge, you know that you've already changed irrevocably. Home, family, comfort. These things belong to another life, another boy. You are becoming a Spartan, bred for battle, forged in the harshest training system the world has ever known. And somehow, despite everything, you wouldn't have it any other way. 5 years have passed since that first brutal day in the Agoge. You're 12 now, your body transformed from the soft child who left home into something leaner, harder, more dangerous. The training field no longer seems impossibly vast as it did when you were 7. Your feet, calloused and tough, barely register the rough ground beneath them. The wooden practice sword feels like an extension of your arm rather than an awkward tool. The morning air carries the first hint of autumn, cool against your skin as you stand in formation with your agili. Theron stands beside you, his body similarly transformed by years of training. He's grown taller than you, his shoulders broadening with muscle, but you're faster, more agile. Together, you've formed a partnership that has helped you both survive the brutal regimen of the Agoge. Aristodemus paces before your group, his weathered face even more lined than it was 5 years ago, but his body still powerful, his eyes still sharp. At his side walks a younger man, perhaps 30, with the bearing of a seasoned warrior. You enter a new phase of your training today, Aristodemus announces. This is Brasidas, who will oversee your instruction in the more advanced techniques of warfare. Brasidas surveys your group with a critical eye. His arms bear the scars of numerous battles, white lines crossing the sun-darkened skin. Unlike Aristodemus, who seems to disapprove of everything, Brasidas's expression is neutral, assessing. You are no longer children, he says, you manas your sons, me bongsho.
Even though you are not yet men, you stand in the middle passage, and how you navigate it will determine whether you become true Spartiates or merely survivors.
A ripple of tension passes through the group. After 5 years of training together, eating together, sleeping side by side, you know each other intimately. You know who excels at wrestling, who can run the farthest without tiring, who has the strength to hold the line in phalanx drills. And you know who struggles, who bears the most punishment, who might not make it to full citizenship. Today, we begin training with real weapons, Brasidas continues, gesturing to a rack of spears and shields that helots are bringing onto the field. Not the wooden toys you've used until now. Your heart quickens. Real weapons. This is a significant milestone in your training. Around you, other boys straighten, eyes fixed on the gleaming bronze of real Aspis shields, the polished wooden shafts of real dory spears. These are not playthings, Brasidas warns. They will not be forgiving of mistakes. A moment's carelessness can mean a comrade's blood on your hands. He signals, and the helots begin distributing the equipment. When it's your turn, you step forward and accept the Aspis shield first. It's heavy, much heavier than the wooden training version you've used for years. The bronze facing catches the morning light, reflecting it back in a dazzling flash. The interface is wood, with a leather grip for your arm and a handle for your hand. Next comes the spear, the dory, nearly 8 feet long, made of ash wood with a leaf-shaped iron spearhead at one end and a bronze butt spike at the other. It's perfectly balanced, deadly in its elegant simplicity. You return to your place in line, adjusting to the weight of the real weapons. They're heavier than the training versions, yes, but somehow they also feel more right, as if all these years of training were merely preparation for this moment when you would hold the actual weapons of a Spartan warrior. Form the phalanx, Brasidas commands. 8 ranks deep, shield wall. You move into position automatically, years of drilling making the formation second nature. Your shield partly covers your body and partly protects Lysander to your left. Theron's shield does the same for you on the right. The rim of your Aspis presses against your left shoulder, the weight distributed along your forearm through the leather sleeve grip. The phalanx, Brasidas says, walking along the front of your formation, is what makes Sparta invincible. Not individual heroics, not fancy swordplay, but this, the unbreakable wall of shields and spears moving as one body, striking as one fist. He demonstrates the proper way to hold the dory in formation. Underarm, the shaft resting on the right shoulder, the spearhead projecting forward past the first rank of shields. The men in the second rank hold their spears higher, so their points project over the shoulders of the first rank. The third rank higher still. In this way, Brasidas explains, the enemy faces not just one spear point, but 3 from each man in the formation, a forest of spearheads advancing as one. You adjust your grip, feeling the smooth wood of the dory shaft against your palm. The weight is substantial but manageable, especially after years of building strength through constant training. Advance, Brasidas commands. Slow step, together. The phalanx begins to move forward, shields touching, spears projecting outward. The discipline of years makes the movement smooth, unified. You feel the pressure of shields on either side, the subtle adjustments as each man maintains his position relative to the others. "Faster now," calls Brasidas. "Battle pace." The formation speeds up, feet striking the ground in unison, a rhythmic thumping that you feel in your chest. Despite the increased pace, the shield wall remains unbroken, each man moving in perfect coordination with those around him. Halt. The phalanx stops as one, spears still extended, shields still overlapping. Sweat trickles down your back from the exertion of moving with the heavy equipment, but there's a fierce satisfaction in the perfection of the formation. This is what you've been training for all these years. "Good," Brasidas says, the first real praise you've heard in the agoge. "Now we practice the real thing." For the remainder of the morning, you drill with the phalanx formation, advancing, retreating, turning, always maintaining the critical shield wall. By midday, your shield arm aches from the weight, your shoulder bruised from the rim of the aspis, but there's a new feeling growing inside you. Pride in mastering these weapons, in being part of something so formidable. During a brief break for water, Theron nudges you. "Look," he says quietly, nodding toward the edge of the training field. A group of older boys stands watching your drills. They're perhaps 16 or 17, their bodies fully formed into the muscular physique of near-adult Spartans. Their expressions are serious, evaluating. "The Cryptire," Theron whispers. "They're choosing." Your stomach tightens. The Cryptire, Sparta's secret police, composed of young men selected for their intelligence, stealth, and absolute loyalty. They enforce control over the Helot population through terror, killing any who show signs of rebellion or excessive strength. It's said they move only at night, striking without warning, leaving no traces. Selection for the Cryptire is both an honour and a burden. Those chosen receive special training in stealth, survival, and silent killing. They spend months living rough in the countryside, conducting night raids on Helot settlements. It's a brutal duty, but one considered essential to maintaining Spartan control over their much more numerous slave population. You turn your attention back to the drills, trying to ignore the watching eyes. Whether you're chosen or not is out of your hands. All you can do is demonstrate your skill, your discipline, your Spartan spirit. After the midday break, Brasidas introduces a new aspect of training: close combat within the phalanx. What happens when the opposing formations crash together, when the spear breaks or becomes unusable in the crush of bodies? "This is when you draw your xiphos," he explains, demonstrating with the short, leaf-shaped sword that each Spartan carries as a secondary weapon. In the crush, there's no room for wide swings or fancy techniques. You thrust, you stab, you find the gaps in enemy armour. He shows the brutal efficiency of Spartan sword fighting. No wasted motion, no theatrical flourishes, just direct, lethal strikes to vulnerable areas. The throat, the groin, the armpit, places where armour can't easily protect. The xiphos is shorter than the swords of other Greeks, Brasidas notes. They mock us for this, until they meet us in the crush of battle and find their longer blades useless while our short swords find their vitals. You're given bronze xiphos swords. Not wood this time, but actual metal, though with dulled edges for training. The weight is different from the wooden practice swords, the balance more precise. It feels deadly in your hand, an extension of your will. The afternoon is spent learning to transition from spear to sword, to fight in the crushing press of bodies that occurs when phalanxes meet. It's intimate, brutal work. You practice with Lysander, taking turns attacking and defending, learning to use the small gaps between shields, to strike when the enemy is occupied with your shield mate. By day's end, your body aches in new ways. The real weapons have worked muscles differently, demanded more of you. Your shield arm throbs, your sword hand is cramped from gripping the xiphos, but there's a satisfaction in the pain, a sense of advancing to a new level in your journey toward becoming a true Spartan warrior. That night in the barracks, the talk is all about the Cryptire. Who will be chosen? What does it involve? The older boys, who have already served their time with the secret police, say little, bound by oaths of secrecy, but their silence itself speaks volumes. As you lie on your sleeping mat, the familiar discomfort barely registering after years of adaptation, you wonder what it would be like to be chosen, to slip out into the night, armed only with a dagger, to hunt helots like animals. The thought should disturb you, but 5 years in the agoge have changed you. The boy who left home would have been horrified. The young Spartan you're becoming sees it as a duty, a necessity for the survival of your way of life. Before sleep claims you, your thoughts turn to the helots you've observed during your years in training, the downtrodden slaves who prepare food, clean the barracks, assist in training, yet are never acknowledged as people. They exist at the edges of your awareness, necessary but invisible. What must it be like to live under constant threat, knowing that at any moment death might come in the night for no reason other than to remind you of your place? The question follows you into uneasy dreams. Morning comes with its usual abrupt awakening, the clattering of metal, the sharp commands of the Irenes. But today is different. Instead of the usual training routine, Brasidas awaits you on the field with a new announcement. Today you leave the safety of the agoge, he says, once you've assembled. Today you test your skills in the wild. A murmur runs through the ranks. This is unexpected but exciting. After years confined mainly to the training grounds, the prospect of venturing out is both thrilling and slightly intimidating. You will be divided into teams, Brasidas continues. Each team will be given a territory in the foothills of Mount Taygetus. Your task is to survive for 3 days, living off the land, avoiding detection by the other teams. If you encounter another team, you fight. Not to kill or seriously injure, but to defeat. The winning team returns with the tokens of all others. He holds up small bronze discs, each marked with a symbol. Your team's token. Guard it well. Take others when you can. Return with the most tokens and you earn special privileges. The teams are quickly assigned, with you, Theron, Lysander, and 2 other boys from your age lie forming one unit. Each team is given basic supplies: a flint for fire, a water skin, a small knife for each boy. No food, no blankets or additional clothing. You're expected to provide those things for yourselves from the land. Your team receives its token, a bronze disc embossed with the image of a wolf. Theron, generally the most level-headed of your group, takes charge of it, securing it inside his cloak. Before you depart, Brasidas gives one final instruction. Remember, this is not just a test of survival or combat skills. It is a test of your ability to work together, to think strategically, to adapt. True Spartans excel not just in strength and courage, but in cunning. With that, the teams are led to different starting points around the periphery of Sparta, each escorted by an Irene who will ensure they begin in their assigned territory before leaving them to their own devices. Your team is taken to the southeastern foothills, where the land begins to rise toward the imposing mass of Mount Taygetus. The Irene leaves you at a small stream with a curt nod. 3 days, return to the agoge by sunset on the 3rd day or face punishment. Then he's gone, and your team is alone in the wilderness. We should find a defensible position, Lysander suggests immediately, somewhere with water nearby but with good visibility so we can't be surprised. Theron nods, and we need to think about food. It's autumn, so there should be nuts and late berries. Maybe we can set snares for small game. You've all had basic instruction in foraging and hunting, part of the Spartan education that prepares warriors to survive on campaign. But this is the first real test of those skills, with actual hunger as the consequence of failure. The day is spent establishing your base, a rocky outcropping that provides shelter from the wind, near enough to the stream for water but not so close that other teams would easily find you by following the water source. You work together to build a small, smokeless fire in a pit, using dry wood that won't produce much smoke to give away your position. Lysander and one of the other boys, Cleon, set snares for rabbits and other small animals. You, Theron, and the 5th member of your team, Alexios, forage for edible plants, wild greens, nuts, late blackberries that grow in thorny thickets on the hillside. The physical labour is nothing compared to your daily training, but it has a different quality, purposeful, directly connected to your survival. By nightfall, you've collected enough food for a meagre meal and established a watch rotation to guard against other teams.
As darkness falls, the temperature drops. Your single cloak provides minimal protection against the chill, but years in the unheated barracks have conditioned your body to endure cold. You curl on the hard ground, using your arm as a pillow, and fall into the light, alert sleep of a Spartan, ready to wake at the slightest unusual sound. The night passes without incident, though your sleep is broken by your turn at watch. Dawn brings a thin mist hanging in the valleys below your position, the sun not yet high enough to burn it away. During the night, one of the snares caught a rabbit, which Lysander quickly and efficiently butchers. The meat, cooked over your small fire, is the most satisfying thing you've eaten in years, not because it's particularly well prepared, but because you provided it for yourselves, working together as a unit. After eating, your team discusses strategy. Simply hiding for 3 days would be the safest approach, but it wouldn't win you the competition. To gather more tokens, you need to find and defeat other teams. We should move along the high ground, you suggest, pointing to the ridge that runs along the eastern slope of Mount Taygetus. We'll have better visibility, see other teams before they see us. Theron nods. And we can set ambushes where the trails narrow. Other teams will likely follow the easier paths through the forest. The plan agreed upon, you break camp, carefully erasing all signs of your presence. The discipline of the Agoge has taught you to leave no trace, a skill as valuable for a spy or scout as for a warrior. Moving along the ridgeline is more strenuous than following the valleys, but it offers the strategic advantage of height. By midday, your vigilance is rewarded when Alexios spots movement in the forest below. Another team moving with less caution than they should, following a game trail that winds through a narrow ravine. Theron smiles, a predatory gleam in his eyes. Perfect. The ravine narrows ahead. We can cut them off, attack from above. You move quickly but silently, positioning yourselves at a point where the ravine walls steepen, forcing anyone passing through to move in single file. The other team, you recognize boys from a different age line, ones you've competed against in training, approaches unwarily, their attention on the path rather than the heights above. When they reach the narrowest point, Theron gives the signal. Your team descends swiftly, using the techniques you've practiced for years in the Agoge. The surprise is complete. Before the other boys can organize a defense, you're among them, wooden practice swords striking with controlled precision. The fight is brief but intense. Years of training make it almost like a dance, each movement flowing into the next. You target one boy directly, your wooden sword striking his wrist, causing him to drop his weapon. A quick sweep of your leg takes him to the ground, where Lysander's sword at his throat forces his surrender. Within minutes, the other team is defeated, not injured seriously, but disarmed and surrounded. Their token, a bronze disc bearing the image of a stag, is handed over grudgingly. As Spartan custom dictates, there's no gloating in victory, no humiliation in defeat. The contest is simply decided. The token changes hands, and the losing team is left to continue the exercise without their prize. 2 down, more to go, Theron says as you climb back to your ridge path, securing the stag token with your wolf one. The rest of the day passes without further encounters. You make camp in a different location, again choosing defensible high ground with good visibility. The night grows colder than the previous one, a reminder that winter is approaching. You sleep in shifts again, each taking watch for a portion of the night. The second day brings both success and setback. By mid-morning, you've located and defeated another team, adding their eagle token to your collection. But while crossing a stream in the early afternoon, Cleon slips on wet stones and twists his ankle badly. It's not broken, but the swelling and pain make it clear he won't be moving quickly or quietly for the remainder of the exercise. This presents a dilemma. In battle, Spartans never leave their wounded behind. It's one of the core principles drilled into you since your first days in the Agoge, but carrying Cleon will slow you down, make you more vulnerable to attack by other teams. There's no debate, though. Abandoning a comrade is unthinkable. You fashion a crude splint for Cleon's ankle using sticks and strips torn from the bottom of his cloak, then take turns supporting him as you continue your patrol, albeit at a much reduced pace. The injury forces a change in strategy. Instead of actively hunting other teams, you find a well-concealed position and set an ambush, using Cleon as apparent bait, a seemingly isolated, injured boy who might be an easy target for his token. The trap works. Late in the afternoon, a team of 5 approaches cautiously, drawn by the sight of Cleon sitting alone by a small fire. They don't see you, Theron, Lysander, and Alexios, hidden in the surrounding brush until it's too late. You spring the ambush, emerging from 4 directions at once, wooden swords at the ready. This fight is harder than the previous ones. The other team, though surprised, recovers quickly and puts up a fierce resistance. You find yourself engaged with a stocky, powerful boy whose name you don't know, but whose reputation as a wrestler is well established in the Agoge. He swings his wooden sword in a wide arc that would have caught your ribs had you not ducked beneath it. Before he can recover, you strike upward, your own practice blade catching him under the chin with enough force to snap his head back. He staggers, momentarily stunned, and you press the advantage, sweeping his legs as you were taught and bringing him down hard on his back. The air leaves his lungs in a whoosh, and your sword is at his throat before he can regain his breath. Around you, your teammates have similarly subdued their opponents. The other team's token, a boar, is added to your collection. By the end of the second day, your team possesses 4 tokens, including your original wolf. You've encountered and defeated 3 of the other 5 teams in the exercise. It's an impressive performance, one that fills you with pride in your unit's skill and teamwork. The final night is the coldest yet, with a bitter wind sweeping down from the snow-capped peaks of Mount Taygetus. You huddle together for warmth, taking turns on watch as before. Despite the discomfort, there's a sense of accomplishment, of having met the challenge and excelled. The third day dawns clear and cold. You break camp early, intent on returning to the Agoge well before the sunset deadline. Cleon's ankle has improved somewhat with rest, though he still needs assistance on rough terrain. Your team moves at a steady pace, alert for any sign of the remaining teams who might try to ambush you for your tokens. The journey back is uneventful, though. Perhaps the other teams are focusing on easier targets, or perhaps they've heard of your successes and are avoiding confrontation. Either way, you reach the outskirts of Sparta by early afternoon, your 4 tokens safely secured. Brasidas awaits the returning teams at the Agoge training ground. His expression reveals nothing as each group reports, presenting their tokens as evidence of their performance. When it's your team's turn, Theron steps forward, producing the 4 bronze discs: wolf, stag, eagle, and boar. 4 tokens, he states simply, and all members present. Brasidas examines the discs, then surveys your team, noting Cleon's injured ankle. "Explain," he says, gesturing to the injury. Theron describes the accident and your decision to adapt rather than abandon your teammate. For a long moment, Brasidas is silent, his weathered face unreadable. Then he nods once. "You've done well," he says, the rare praise falling strangely on ears accustomed to criticism. Not just in defeating other teams, but in demonstrating the true spirit of Spartan warriors. Victory means nothing if achieved by sacrificing your brothers in arms. A warmth spreads through your chest at these words. In the harsh world of Spartan training, where praise is almost non-existent, this simple acknowledgement means more than any elaborate commendation could. That evening, your team is granted the promised privilege, a full meal, not stolen or scavenged, but provided officially, with portions generous enough to actually satisfy hunger. As you eat, sitting with your teammates in a corner of the mess hall, you reflect on how much you've changed in 5 years. The scared 7-year-old who entered the agoge would never recognize the tough, resourceful 12-year-old you've become. Your body bears the evidence of your transformation. Scars from training accidents, calluses on hands and feet, muscles hardened by constant exercise. But the changes go deeper than the physical. You've learned to endure pain without complaint, to function despite hunger and exhaustion, to put the group before yourself. You've learned the lethal skills of a warrior while also mastering the discipline to use those skills only as directed. You've begun to understand what it truly means to be Spartan. As you finish your meal, the older boys who were watching your phalanx drills days earlier enter the mess hall. They move purposefully through the room, stopping occasionally to speak quietly to a boy, who then rises and follows them out. The Cryptire selection. Your stomach tightens as one of them approaches your table. He stops behind Theron, places a hand on his shoulder, and murmurs something. Theron's face remains impassive, but you see a flicker in his eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or apprehension. He stands, gives you a barely perceptible nod, and follows the older boy out. Chosen for the Cryptire, your friend, your battle brother, selected for Sparta's secret police. You feel a complex mix of emotions, pride in his recognition, concern for what he'll face, a touch of envy, and relief that you weren't chosen. Not yet, anyway. That night, Theron's sleeping mat remains empty. In the darkness of the barracks, you stare at the vacant space, wondering what he's experiencing, what trials he's facing. The Cryptire operates in shadows, both literally and figuratively. Its activities are spoken of only in whispers, its methods known only to those who have served. As you drift towards sleep, you realize that your journey is still just beginning. At 12, you're halfway through the agoge, with 7 more years of training before you become a full Spartiate at 20. There will be more challenges, more hardships, more transformations to come. But tonight, with the success of the wilderness exercise behind you and the simple satisfaction of a full meal in your belly, you allow yourself a moment of contentment. You're becoming what you were born to be, a Spartan warrior, bred for battle, forged in the most demanding training system the world has ever known. And though the path ahead remains difficult, you now know with certainty that you have the strength to walk it. 4 more years have passed in the agoge. You're 16 now, on the cusp of manhood by Spartan standards. Your body barely resembles that of the boy who entered this brutal training system 9 years ago. You stand taller, your shoulders broader, muscles defined from endless physical conditioning. Scars map your skin like a history of your education. A raised line on your forearm from a sword training accident, a puckered mark on your thigh where you were speared during a mock battle, countless smaller marks that you no longer even remember receiving. The training field is familiar as your own hand after nearly a decade. The packed earth bears the impressions of thousands of footsteps, yours among them. The morning light casts long shadows as you and your Agalai assemble for the day's training. Now in the Paidiskoi stage of the agoge, you're no longer considered a child, but not yet a full adult. This in-between state comes with new responsibilities and privileges, though privilege in Sparta means something very different than it would in Athens or Corinth. Lysander stands beside you, his lanky frame having filled out into the muscular build of a near-adult Spartan. Cleon and Alexios complete your immediate group. The 5th member, Theron, returned from his Cryptire service 6 months ago, changed in ways that are difficult to define. His eyes hold a new guardedness, and sometimes you catch him staring into the distance, seeing things the rest of you cannot. Whatever happened during those months in the wilderness, hunting helots has marked him. Brasidas, now showing the first strands of grey in his dark beard, strides onto the field. Behind him come several older Spartiates, full citizens who have completed their agoge training and now serve in the army. Their presence signals something important. Today is no ordinary training day. Paidiskoi, Brasidas addresses your group. Today you begin your introduction to the Syssitia. A murmur of excitement runs through the ranks. The Syssitia, the communal mess halls where adult Spartan men take their meals together, represent another step toward full citizenship. Each mess consists of about 15 men who form a tight-knit unit both in military service and civic life. You will not yet be full members, Brasidas continues, but you will begin taking some meals with the men, observing and learning the customs and conversations that are part of Spartan citizenship. One of the older Spartiates steps forward. You recognize him as Menelaus, a respected warrior in his 30s who has fought in several campaigns against Sparta's enemies. The Syssitia is more than a place to eat, Menelaus explains, his voice deep and authoritative. It is where policies are debated, where military strategy is discussed, where the bonds between warriors are strengthened. A Spartan is only as strong as his mess brothers. He describes the process of admission to a Syssitia, which will occur when you turn 20 and complete the agoge. Each candidate must be unanimously accepted by the existing members, with even a single black stone in the voting bowl resulting in rejection. Those rejected cannot become full citizens, instead joining the ranks of the inferiors, still free but without the full rights and status of a Spartiate. You have 4 years to prove yourselves worthy, Menelaus concludes. Observe carefully, learn, demonstrate your value, not just as warriors but as brothers. The day's training takes on new intensity with the presence of the full Spartiates. These are men who have proven themselves not just in the agoge but on actual battlefields, facing Persian spears or Athenian shields rather than training weapons. You're paired with a Spartiate named Dorias for sword drills. He's perhaps 10 years older than you, his body covered in battle scars, his movements economical and deadly. There's no wasted energy in how he handles his xyphos, no unnecessary flourishes, just the direct, brutal efficiency that characterizes Spartan combat. Your grip is wrong, he says, the first words he's spoken to you. He steps closer, adjusts your hand on the sword hilt. Like this, thumb along the flat of the guard, gives you better control for the thrust. You make the adjustment, feeling the difference immediately. The sword feels more like a natural extension of your arm. Again, Dorias commands, raising his own sword in a guard position. You practice the attacking sequence that's been drilled into you for years, but with the adjusted grip, the movements flow more smoothly, each strike connecting with more precision and power. Dorias nods, the small gesture more gratifying than effusive praise would be from anyone else. Better, now faster! The drills continue with increasing intensity. Sweat soaks your simple tunic, runs down your face, stings your eyes. But you don't slow, don't flag. 9 years in the agoge have built endurance that seems almost supernatural to outsiders. You can push your body far beyond normal human limitations. As midday approaches, Brasidas calls a halt to the training. Prepare yourselves, he orders. You will accompany the men to the Syssitia for the midday meal. There's barely time to wash the worst of the sweat and dirt from your body at the stream before you're following the Spartiates toward the centre of the city. The Syssitia are housed in simple but solid stone buildings arranged around a central square. Each mess has its own building, identified by symbols carved above the doorways: a wolf, a spear, a shield. Dorias leads you toward a building marked with the image of a falcon. You'll observe our mess today, he says over his shoulder. Listen more than you speak. Learn. Inside, the mess hall is austere but dignified. Stone benches and tables line the room, with space for about 15 men. On the walls hang shields and spears, not decorative pieces, but actual weapons belonging to the mess members, ready to be grabbed in case of alarm or attack. A small shrine to Apollo occupies one corner, with a simple bronze statue of the god and a few offerings of grain and olive oil. The helots who serve the mess move efficiently around the room, setting out the meal. It's simple fare by the standards of other Greek cities. Barley bread, a black broth made from boiled pork and blood, some olives, a small portion of cheese, watered wine in clay cups. But compared to the near-starvation diet you've endured for years in the Agog, it seems almost luxurious. You take a seat at the end of a bench, aware of your status as an observer rather than a participant. Theron, Lysander, and the others from your age-lie are similarly distributed around the room, each attached to a different Spartiate mentor. The men enter and take their customary places with minimal conversation. There's a ritual quality to their movements, a sense of tradition being observed. The oldest member of the mess, a warrior named Teleclos, whose hair and beard have gone completely grey, takes his place at the head of the central table. "To Sparta," he says simply, raising his cup in a toast. "To Sparta," the others respond in unison, raising their own cups before drinking. With that brief ceremony completed, the meal begins. Unlike the raucous banquets of Athens or the elaborate dining customs of Persia, the Spartan mess is characterized by simplicity and restraint. Men eat with focus, neither gorging themselves nor picking delicately at their food. Conversation flows, but it's purposeful rather than frivolous. You listen carefully as the men discuss matters of policy and military strategy. There's talk of Athens and its growing naval power, of alliances with other city-states, of training the younger cohorts in the Agoge. Each man speaks directly, without rhetorical flourishes or attempts to impress. Agreement is expressed with nods, disagreement with straightforward counter-arguments. There are no heated displays of emotion, no raised voices. "What do you think of the Athenian naval build-up?" Teleclos suddenly asks, looking directly at you. The question catches you off guard. You hadn't expected to be addressed, much less asked for an opinion on matters of state. The eyes of the entire mess turn to you, evaluating, judging. You take a breath, organizing your thoughts before speaking. Bluster or evasion would not be respected here. Only clear, honest assessment. "Athens grows stronger at sea while we remain strongest on land," you say carefully. "If conflict comes, they will avoid meeting our phalanx directly. They'll raid our coast, attempt to cut off trade, perhaps incite the helots to rebellion." A few of the men nod slightly, encouraging you to continue. "We cannot match their ships quickly," you add, "so we must ensure our alliances with city-states that can, and we must be prepared to strike at Athens directly where their navy cannot protect them." Teleclos studies you for a long moment, his weathered face revealing nothing. Then he nods once. "Succinctly put," he says, before turning the conversation to another topic. The exchange, brief as it was, fills you with a quiet pride. Your words were heard, considered worthy of acknowledgement. It's a small step toward acceptance in the adult world of Spartan warriors. The meal continues, and you observe the subtle dynamics between the men. Despite the legendary Spartan equality, there are clearly hierarchies at work, based not on birth or wealth, but on proven merit, battlefield accomplishments, wisdom demonstrated in council. It's a meritocracy in its purest form, where a man's value is determined solely by his contributions to Sparta. After the meal, you return to the training fields for the afternoon session. The focus shifts to formation drills with the full panoply: shield, spear, helmet, and bronze cuirass. The weight of the complete armor is substantial, especially in the heat of the afternoon sun. But years of conditioning have prepared you to bear it. The drills are more complex now than when you first learned the basics of phalanx warfare. You practice contingencies, what to do if the formation is flanked, how to reform if a section of the line is broken, how to rotate fresh warriors to the front while maintaining the integrity of the shield wall. As the sun begins its descent toward the western hills, Brasidas introduces a new element to the training. In battle, he announces, you will face more than just infantry. You must be prepared to hold the line against cavalry charges. At his signal, several Spartiates mounted on horses move to the far end of the training field. They're armed with blunted spears, their faces set in grim determination. Form the phalanx, Brasidas commands. When they charge, present spears and hold your ground. Do not break formation, no matter what. You take your position in the front rank, shield braced against your shoulder, spear lowered to present its point to the oncoming horses. Beside you, Lysander breathes deeply, preparing himself. Behind you, the second and third ranks prepare their spears, creating the deadly hedge of points that defines the phalanx. Brasidas raises his arm, then drops it sharply. The mounted Spartiates kick their horses into motion, charging directly toward your formation. The ground trembles with the impact of hooves, the sound growing louder as they approach. Every instinct screams to move, to get out of the path of these powerful animals bearing down on you. But you hold your position, spear steady, shield locked with those beside you. The horses and riders loom larger, filling your vision. At what seems like the last possible moment, they veer away, some breaking right, others left, none willing to impale themselves on the spear points. Most of the phalanx holds firm, but on the far left, a section wavers as a horse comes particularly close. The formation buckles slightly, creating a dangerous gap. "Reform!" bellows Brasidas. "Close the gap!" The training continues with charge after charge, the mounted Spartiates becoming increasingly aggressive, looking for any weakness in the formation. It's exhausting, both physically and mentally, requiring absolute focus and trust in your shield brothers. By the time Brasidas finally calls a halt, your arms ache from holding the heavy shield in position, and your tunic is soaked with sweat. But the phalanx held, adapting to each challenge, maintaining its integrity despite the intimidating charges. "Acceptable," Brasidas says, which from him is high praise indeed. "Clean your equipment and prepare for evening formation." As you clean the dust from your shield and check your spear for any damage, Dorias approaches. "You did well today," he says, without preamble, "both on the field and in the mess." "Thank you," you respond, the words feeling inadequate for the pride that fills your chest at this acknowledgement. "The next 4 years will determine your future," Dorias continues. "Some in your cohort will earn citizenship and join a Syssitia. Others will not." His eyes hold yours steadily. "Which will you be?" The question isn't really a question, it's a challenge. A Spartan doesn't speak of trying or hoping. He simply does what must be done, whatever the cost. "I will earn my place," you say with quiet certainty. Dorias nods, satisfied with your response. "Good. Tomorrow we begin specialized training. Be ready at dawn." That night in the barracks, the conversation among your Agili focuses on the day's experiences, particularly the introduction to the Syssitia. Each of you was placed with a different mess, observing different groups of men, different dynamics. The shield mess barely spoke during the entire meal, Alexios reports, just ate in silence, except for discussing the cavalry training. The spear mess was different, Lysander adds. They debated the treaty terms with Argos for nearly the whole time. Theron says little about his experience, but that's become typical since his return from the Cryptaea. He listens, occasionally nods, but keeps his own counsel more than before. As you settle onto your sleeping mat, the familiar discomfort barely registering after 9 years, you reflect on how far you've come from that frightened 7-year-old boy. The agoge has transformed you physically, mentally, emotionally. Pain that would have once seemed unbearable is now merely a sensation to be acknowledged and controlled. Hunger is a familiar companion rather than a crisis. Your body responds to commands with automatic precision, trained through thousands of repetitions of each movement. But the changes go beyond the physical. You think differently now, where once you might have questioned the harshness of Spartan training, now you understand its purpose: to create warriors who cannot be broken, who function as parts of a perfect whole, who place the needs of Sparta above individual comfort or desire. Sleep comes quickly, your body efficiently taking rest while it can, another skill honed by years of training. The specialized training Doreus mentioned begins before dawn the next day. You're awakened while the sky is still dark, the air cool and damp with night moisture. Instead of assembling on the main training field, you're directed to a smaller area at the edge of the Agoge grounds. There, Doreus waits with two other Spartiates you don't recognize. Before them on a rack are weapons you've trained with before: the Dori spear, Xiphos sword, and Aspis shield, but also others that are less familiar, javelins lighter than the Dori, designed for throwing rather than thrusting. A heavily curved kopis sword, its inner edge sharpened for powerful cutting strokes. A simple leather sling with a pouch for stones. A Spartan's primary role is as a hoplite in the phalanx, Doreus begins without preamble, but a true warrior must be adaptable, capable of fighting effectively in any situation with whatever weapons are available. For the next several hours, you rotate through training with each weapon. The javelin requires a different technique than the Dori, a higher trajectory, a specific release point to maximize distance and accuracy. The kopis feels strange in your hand after years of training. With the straight-bladed Xiphos, its balance and cutting motion entirely different. The sling is perhaps the most challenging, requiring precise timing and release to hit targets with any accuracy. By midday, your arms ache from the unfamiliar movements, and your mind is saturated with new information. But there's satisfaction in expanding your capabilities, in mastering new weapons that might one day make the difference between victory and defeat, or life and death. The afternoon brings a different kind of specialized training. The Spartiates lead your group to a rugged area at the base of Mount Taygetus, where the terrain is broken by boulders, ravines, and dense undergrowth. Phalanx warfare requires open ground, explains one of the Spartiates, a compact, wiry man who introduces himself as Eudamidas. But you will not always have the luxury of choosing your battlefield. Sometimes you must fight in terrain that negates the advantages of formation. What follows is intensive training in small unit tactics, how to move through difficult terrain in pairs or small groups, maintaining contact without bunching up, how to set ambushes and counter enemy ambushes, how to use terrain features for cover and concealment. It's a different kind of warfare than the disciplined phalanx fighting that's been the focus of your training for years. This requires more individual initiative, more rapid decision-making, more awareness of your surroundings. It's mentally exhausting in a way that even the most grueling physical training isn't. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows through the trees, Eudamidas calls a halt to the training. "Enough for today," he says. "Tomorrow we continue with night operations." Night operations. The words send a mixture of anticipation and apprehension through you. Fighting in darkness adds an entirely new dimension of difficulty and danger, even in training. That evening, after another meal observation at the Syssitia, you and your ager lay return to the barracks for what you expect will be a short rest before the night training. But instead of the usual routine, you find Brasidas waiting with several Irenes. "Gather your equipment," he orders. "Full panoply. You deploy in 1 hour. A surge of adrenaline washes through your tired body. This is unexpected, a deliberate disruption of routine to test your readiness, your ability to respond quickly to changing situations. As you and the others rush to collect your equipment, shield, spear, sword, helmet, cuirass, theories fly about what's happening. Is it a surprise training exercise, a response to some threat to Sparta? No one knows, and the Irenes offer no explanation. Within the hour, your entire age cohort is assembled in full battle gear, standing at attention as Brasidas paces before you. Spartans, he addresses you, the first time he's used that term rather than boys or trainees or paidiskoi. Tonight you participate in the defense of our homeland. He explains that reports have come from the northern borders of Laconia, Sparta's home territory, of a large band of raiders, possibly mercenaries hired by a rival city-state. Regular army units are moving to intercept them, but your cohort is being deployed as a reserve force, to be positioned at a strategic mountain pass in case the raiders attempt to bypass the main Spartan force. This is not a training exercise. This is real deployment with the potential for actual combat against a genuine enemy. You feel a complex mix of emotions, nervousness certainly, but also a fierce anticipation, a readiness to put years of training to the test in defense of Sparta. As you march out of the city in tight formation, the weight of your armor and weapons familiar after countless drills, you realize that you've crossed a threshold. No longer are you merely a trainee preparing for some future role. Tonight you are a Spartan warrior, bred for battle, forged in the Agog, now answering the call to defend your homeland. The night air is cool against your face, the only part of your body not covered by armor or clothing. Stars glitter overhead, providing just enough light to see the road ahead. The rhythmic sound of marching feet, hundreds of young Spartans moving as one, fills the darkness. Beside you, Lysander's face is set in determined lines. Behind you, Theron moves with the fluid grace that's made him one of the top fighters in your cohort. Ahead lies uncertainty, perhaps danger, possibly the ultimate test of everything you've learned. But you are ready. The frightened boy who entered the Agogi 9 years ago is gone, transformed through pain, discipline, and relentless training into something formidable. A nearly forged Spartan, prepared to face whatever lies ahead with courage and skill. The road stretches before you, winding into the darkness of the Laconian hills. Somewhere out there, enemies of Sparta move in the same darkness. Whether you will meet them in battle tonight, only the gods know. But if you do, you will be ready. You are Spartan. The mountain pass is narrow, barely wide enough for 6 men to stand abreast. Sheer rock faces rise on either side, creating a natural choke point where a smaller force can hold against a larger one, if they have the discipline and courage to stand their ground. It's the perfect position for your cohort's mission, to block any raiders attempting to bypass the main Spartan army. Your unit arrived shortly after midnight, guided by Brasidas and several experienced Spartiates who know the terrain intimately. Now you wait in the pre-dawn darkness, your breath forming small clouds in the cold mountain air. The weight of your shield pulls at your left arm, a familiar pressure after countless hours of training. Your spear rests against your shoulder, its point gleaming dully in the faint starlight. Beside you stands Lysander, his tall frame unmistakable even in the dim light. Behind you, arranged in the tight formation of the phalanx, are Theron, Alexios, and dozens of other young Spartans from your age cohort. All of you are silent, conserving energy, focusing inward on the potential battle to come. Hours pass with no sign of the enemy. The eastern sky gradually lightens, painting the mountain peaks with pale gold. Birds begin their morning songs, seemingly oblivious to the armed men waiting below. Your legs grow stiff from standing in position, but you don't shift or fidget. Spartans are trained to remain motionless for hours when necessary, controlling physical discomfort through mental discipline. As full daylight spreads across the landscape, a runner arrives from the main Spartan force to the north. He confers briefly with Brasidas, who then approaches your formation. The enemy has been engaged by our main force, he announces. They fight now in the valley of the Eurotas, but a smaller group has broken away, moving south along the goat paths. They will reach this pass by midday. A ripple of tension passes through the ranks. Not fear, but anticipation. After 9 years of training, you will finally face a real enemy. Test your skills in actual combat rather than practice. They number perhaps 40, Brasidas continues. Mercenaries from Thessaly, according to our scouts. Professional fighters, but not a disciplined phalanx. They rely on individual skill rather than formation. He surveys your unit with a critical eye. We number 60. The advantage of position and numbers is ours, but do not underestimate them. They are experienced killers who have survived many battles. The morning advances slowly. Additional scouts arrive, reporting the enemy's progress. They're moving quickly along the mountain paths, burdened only by personal weapons rather than full hoplite panoply. By the scouts' estimation, they'll reach the pass within 2 hours. Brasidas orders a rotation system. 1/3 of your unit rests while 2/3 maintain position. This ensures that when battle comes, none of you will be exhausted from standing in formation for hours. During your rest period, you sit with your back against a sun-warmed boulder, your shield and spear within easy reach. Lysander joins you, his expression thoughtful. "Strange, isn't it?" he says quietly. "All these years preparing for battle, and now that it's nearly upon us." He doesn't finish the thought, but you understand. It's not fear exactly, but a heightened awareness, a sense that everything until now has been preparation for this moment. "We're ready," you reply simply. Lysander nods. "We are, more ready than any warriors in Greece." Your rest period ends too quickly. You resume your position in the formation, adjust your shield on your arm, test the balance of your spear. The sun climbs higher, beating down on your bronze helmet, making the inside hot against your scalp. Sweat trickles down your back beneath the leather backing of your cuirass. You control your breathing, slow and steady, conserving energy. The first warning comes from the scouts posted on the heights above the pass. A shrill whistle, the signal that the enemy is approaching. Brasidas immediately calls the formation to full alert, all 60 of you now standing shoulder to shoulder in the narrowest part of the pass. Shields overlapping, spears at the ready. "Remember your training," Brasidas calls, moving behind the formation. "Hold the line, trust the man beside you. Fight for Sparta." "For Sparta," comes the response. Not a wild cheer, but a controlled, unified acknowledgement of purpose. Minutes later, you hear them before you see them. The sound of hurried footsteps, the clatter of weapons, voices calling orders in the accented Greek of northern regions. Then they appear around the bend in the pass, a group of hard-faced men in light armour carrying an assortment of weapons, swords, spears, axes. They halt abruptly at the sight of your phalanx blocking the way. For a moment there's silence as they assess the situation. They've clearly hoped to slip through the mountains undetected, avoiding the main Spartan force. Instead, they've run directly into a blocking position held by Spartan warriors. One man steps forward, taller than the rest, with a heavy beard and a livid scar running from temple to jaw. He wears a bronze cuirass over a red tunic, marking him as the leader. "Stand aside, boys," he calls in heavily accented Greek. "We have no quarrel with children. Our business is elsewhere. No one in your formation moves or responds. The discipline of years holds each of you in position, spears unwavering, shields locked." The mercenary leader scowls. "I see the famous Spartan stubbornness is not exaggerated. Very well." He turns to his men. "Kill them and continue south. We must reach the rendezvous by nightfall." What follows happens with surprising speed. The mercenaries spread out as much as the narrow pass allows, preparing to charge your position. Their leader raises his sword, shouts a command in Thessalian, and they surge forward. Time seems to slow. You see everything with preternatural clarity, the individual faces of the attacking men, the sunlight glinting off their weapons, the small clouds of dust kicked up by their feet. Your heart beats steadily in your chest, neither racing with fear nor freezing with panic. This moment, this confrontation is what your entire life has prepared you for. "Hold!" comes Brasidas' command from behind the formation. Hold until they reach spear range. The distance closes rapidly. 20 paces. 15. 10. Spears ready! Brasidas calls. You adjust your grip slightly, bracing for impact. Now! As one, the front rank of your formation thrusts forward with their spears. The synchronized movement, practiced thousands of times in training, creates a wall of spear points that meets the charging mercenaries. The impact is jarring. Even through the disciplined formation, a bearded mercenary runs directly onto your spear, the point punching through his leather armor and into his chest. You feel the resistance, then the give as the spearhead penetrates flesh. Hot blood runs down the shaft, making your grip slippery. The man screams, a sound cut short as he slides further onto your spear. His eyes, wide with shock and pain, meet yours for a brief moment. Then the life fades from them, and he becomes a dead weight pulling at your weapon. You have killed a man. There's no time to process this. The battle flows around you, a chaos of shouting, clashing metal, and desperate movement. The mercenaries' initial charge has been blunted by your spear wall, but they're professionals, quick to adapt. They focus attacks on the edges of your formation, trying to find a weak point, a gap in the shield wall. Close up, Brasidas shouts from behind. Second rank, spears. The second rank of your formation thrusts their spears forward, adding another layer of points to the deadly hedge confronting the attackers. Men in the third rank pass their spears forward to replace those in the front ranks that have become unusable after striking enemies. A mercenary with a heavy war axe strikes at your shield, the impact sending shocks up your arm. The bronze-faced Aspis absorbs the blow, but the force pushes you back slightly. Immediately, you feel pressure from behind as your shield brothers support you, helping maintain the integrity of the formation. Hold the line, comes the call, unnecessary but reassuring. The battle continues for what seems like hours, but is probably only minutes. The disciplined Spartan phalanx proves its worth against the more individually skilled but less coordinated mercenaries. Your overlapping shields create an almost impenetrable wall while your spears reach out to strike at enemies who cannot get close enough to use their shorter weapons effectively. Gradually, the pressure against your line lessens. The mercenaries are falling back, regrouping, reassessing. Their initial confidence has been shattered by the unexpected resistance. They've lost perhaps a quarter of their number, their dead and wounded lying before your formation, like broken dolls. Their leader, the scarred man who demanded your surrender, confers quickly with his lieutenants. Whatever plan they had is now in ruins. The main Spartan army is behind them to the north, your blocking force before them, and impassable terrain on either side. "One more push!" the leader shouts to his men. "Break through these boys and the way south is open!" They charge again, this time more organised, concentrating their force on the centre of your line where you stand. The impact is even more violent than before, a wave of desperate men throwing themselves against your shields and spears. Your spear, already bloody from your first kill, finds another target, a gap in a mercenary's armour at the shoulder joint. You thrust, feel resistance, push harder. The man howls in pain but doesn't fall. He grabs your spear shaft with his free hand, trying to pull it from your grip or pull you out of formation. For a critical moment, you're locked in this deadly tug of war. Then Lysander's spear strikes the man in the throat, and he collapses, releasing your weapon. The brief exchange demonstrates the power of the phalanx, each warrior supporting those beside him, covering vulnerabilities, fighting as a unified whole rather than as individuals. The second charge fails as the first did, breaking against the discipline and cohesion of your formation. More mercenaries fall impaled on Spartan spears or cut down when they expose themselves trying to breach the shield wall. Finally, the scarred leader calls a retreat. The remaining mercenaries fall back out of spear range, their numbers now reduced by almost half. They gather their wounded who can still move, leaving the dead where they fell. "This isn't finished, Spartans," the leader calls, his face contorted with rage and frustration. "We'll find another way south." Brasidas steps forward from behind your formation. "There is no other way," he replies calmly, and the main army approaches from the north. "Surrender now, and you may live as prisoners. Continue, and none of you will see another sunrise." The mercenary leader spits on the ground. Thessalians don't surrender. He turns to his remaining men. "Back to the high path. We make for the eastern ridge." They retreat quickly, disappearing around the bend in the pass. Scouts report that they're indeed heading east, attempting to find another route through the mountains. But as Brasidas said, there is no viable path for a group that size. They'll either be captured by the main Spartan force or die in the attempt to escape. The battle is over. Your cohort has succeeded in its mission, holding the pass and preventing the mercenaries from reaching whatever destination they sought in southern Laconia. Only now, with the immediate threat gone, do you begin to process what has happened. You've killed men, not in training or mock battles, but actual enemies. Their blood stains your spear and spatters your shield. Their bodies lie cooling on the ground before your formation. Strangely, you feel neither elation nor revulsion. The years of Spartan training have prepared you for this moment, conditioned you to see combat not as a personal trial, but as a duty to be performed with skill and discipline. You fought not for glory or bloodlust, but because Sparta required it of you. Brasidas walks along the front of your formation, examining each of you with a critical eye. He's looking for signs of injury, but also for something else, how you've responded to your first taste of real battle. When he reaches you, his gaze lingers a moment longer. "Your first?" he asks, simply. You nod, knowing he's referring to your first kill. "It changes nothing," he says. "You are still Spartan. You still have duties to perform." His words might seem cold to outsiders, but to you, they're reassuring. This is the Spartan way: acknowledgement without sentimentality, recognition without excessive emotion. The battle is done. You performed as trained. Life continues. The unit maintains position for several more hours until a messenger arrives from the main army. The remaining mercenaries have been intercepted and defeated. The threat is over. Your cohort is to return to Sparta. The march back is conducted in the same disciplined formation as the journey out. Despite fatigue and the aftermath of battle, no one breaks ranks or falls behind. Spartan training has built endurance that goes beyond normal human limits. As you approach the city, the setting sun casts long shadows before you, the familiar outline of Sparta, not grand or ostentatious like Athens with its marble temples, but solid, practical, enduring, fills you with a sense of belonging that's grown stronger with each year in the Agoge. That night in the barracks, there's little talk of the battle. This too is the Spartan way. Victory is expected, not celebrated. Duty fulfilled is merely what's required, not something deserving special recognition. Still, there's a subtle shift in how the Irenes treat your cohort. A new respect. An acknowledgement that you've crossed another threshold on the path to becoming full Spartiates. Sleep comes quickly despite the day's events. Your body, trained to take rest when available, shuts down efficiently. If dreams of battle come, they don't disturb your slumber. The next morning brings no break in training. If anything, Brasidas and the other instructors push you harder, as if to emphasize that one successful engagement doesn't make you complete warriors. There are still weaknesses to address, skills to refine, lessons to learn. Yesterday's victory was against undisciplined mercenaries, Brasidas reminds you. Imagine facing a Theban phalanx or Athenian hoplites. Would your performance have been sufficient then? It's a rhetorical question, designed to prevent complacency. In Sparta, there is no good enough. There is only the constant drive toward perfection in the art of war. The final years of your training in the Agogi pass with increasing intensity and specialization. At 17, you begin rotating through different military roles: scout, skirmisher, standard hoplite, even brief exposure to the limited cavalry that Sparta maintains. The goal is to create warriors who understand all aspects of warfare, who can adapt to whatever role is required in battle. Regular meals at the Syssitia continue, your participation gradually increasing from silent observer to occasional contributor to the discussions. You learn the unwritten protocols of these communal meals, when to speak and when to listen, how to offer an opinion without overstepping your place as a youth among established warriors. Physical training remains brutally demanding. Daily runs, wrestling matches, weapons drills in full armour under the hot sun, all designed to push beyond normal human endurance. By 18, your body has reached its adult form, hardened by a lifetime of training into a weapon as finely honed as any sword or spear. The cohort that entered the Agoge as frightened 7-year-olds has been reduced by nearly a third over the years. Some died from training accidents or the deliberately harsh conditions. Others were deemed insufficiently Spartan in spirit or physical capability and relegated to lesser roles in society. Those who remain, like you, Lysander, Theron, Alexios and Cleon, have been forged into something extraordinary, warriors who can endure what would break ordinary men, who function as parts of a perfect whole in battle, who place Sparta's needs above any personal concern. At 19, with full citizenship now visible on the horizon, a new element enters your training. Political education, not the rhetoric and philosophy taught in Athens, but practical instruction in Sparta's unique dual kingship system, the role of the ephors who check royal power, the Gerousia Council of Elders, and the limited democracy of the Apella Assembly. A Spartan is more than a warrior, explains Teleclos, the elder you first met at the Syssitia years ago. He is a citizen with responsibilities to the state beyond fighting. You must understand how Sparta governs itself to fulfill your duties properly. These lessons take place in the evenings after the day's physical training. Despite exhaustion, you absorb the information eagerly. This is another step toward full adulthood, another piece of what it means to be Spartan. And then, finally, your 20th year arrives. 13 years after entering the Agogi as a small, frightened boy, you stand on the threshold of becoming a full Spartiate, a citizen warrior with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The transition is marked by a series of ceremonies and tests. First comes a final assessment of your military skills, not just physical capabilities, but tactical understanding, leadership potential, and absolute loyalty to Sparta. You and your surviving age mates are evaluated by a panel of experienced warriors, including Brasidas and Doreus, who have overseen your training for years. The evaluation is rigorous but fair. By this point, those who couldn't meet Spartan standards have already been weeded out. You perform as expected, demonstrating the skills and discipline instilled through 13 years of relentless training. Next comes the political examination, questions about Spartan governance, laws, and traditions. Again, you've been well prepared. Your answers satisfy the panel of elders who administer this portion of the assessment. Finally, there is the matter of assignment to a Syssitia. This is perhaps the most critical step, for without unanimous acceptance by the members of a mess, you cannot become a full citizen. You stand before the Falcon Syssitia, where you've taken occasional meals for the past 4 years. Doreus, now your formal sponsor, presents you to the assembled warriors. I present this young man for your consideration, he states formally. I vouch for his character, his skill in battle, and his loyalty to Sparta. Each member of the mess holds 2 voting tokens, a white stone and a black one. One by one, they approach a covered urn and deposit a single stone, white for acceptance, black for rejection. A single black stone means denial of membership and consequently of full citizenship.